Hello and welcome to episode 117 of the Thinking LSAT podcast. This is Ben Olson in Washington, D.C. on a rainy night. And with me is Nathan Fox.
How you doing?
How's it going? Good. Where are you at?
I am in Los Angeles. I played golf today in shorts and short sleeves all day.
Cool. So that's why we had to reschedule.
Yes, that is why we had to reschedule. I got a golf invitation and I immediately sent you a text and said, hey, buddy, can we reschedule? And you kindly said yes.
Yeah.
So that's what happened.
Cool. Well, I'm glad to do it at night. Actually, it's funny. Last night was the first class since the December LSAT happened, and everybody filed in, and they're kind of mulling around, and I was waiting for the class to get started. I didn't want to jump the gun because it wasn't time yet, but, we're just sitting there, so I'm like, does anyone have any questions? And the first question I got, I don't know if I could have asked for a better question, but it was, is law school worth $200,000?
Yeah.
I was like, no. It's just a good way to get, the class going, because everybody, I think, was kind of like, wait, what have I signed up for? What is going on here?
Yeah, I know. I got a call today from a prospective student who was, she had taken it on Saturday, December 2nd, and she knew she didn't do as well as she could have, and she's looking at a February retake, and she's wanting to sign up and work with me, and I spent like 15 minutes yelling at her about how, yes, she needs to take it in February, but she also needs to apply at the beginning of the next cycle with the best LSAT score she can possibly get and just not pay for law school. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's great. So how long did you yell at them about how it's not worth $200,000?
I think that took like 10 minutes, actually. I don't usually yell.
Oh, you went easy on them. Uh-huh.
I like to, let the facts speak for themselves sometimes. But in any case, yeah, so speaking of the test, we have a ton of emails about what happened, a lot of funny stories here. Before we jump in, do you have anything that you want to mention?
No, I mean, I guess I could speculate. It seemed like it was about normal, the test. I haven't heard anything yet where I'm like, whoa, that's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, we've heard we got a million weird test stories, just proctors fucking things up and crazy things happening. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But we don't have, as far as the test itself, it just seems like it was, some people did great, some people did shitty, same as always.
Yep.
Is that how your kids?
Yeah. I just got off the phone from someone who said that they thought it was easier than the September LSAT, and right before that, I had talked to someone who thought it was harder. So,
yeah, same as always, basically. For some people, they did great. Some people did terrible. It's the same.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Shall we dive into these reports?
Sure. Yeah. Do you want to take this first
Sure.
one? Okay.
The subject says test day BS. Hey guys, a couple quick observations from test day. I took the test at Northeastern. Test building had a bomb threat. We were evacuated seconds before starting section 1 and got to stand outside in 35-degree weather for about 2 hours before immediately beginning the test. The bomb squad dogs were cool though.
Wow.
You think this was somebody who was it had to be one of the students, right? One of the test takers?
I guess so. What what were they hoping to accomplish?
I don't know who else is calling in a bomb threat on a Saturday to Northeastern. I mean, unless there was some other big time exam going on where someone would call in a bomb threat, but probably somebody who did shitty, didn't prep enough, panic attack.
I just can't, that's a criminal. I can't
Yes.
imagine risking getting caught for a silly absence,
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Huh. Well, anyways, interesting experience for everyone.
Yeah, it sucks. Yeah. Especially standing outside 35-degree weather. That's rough.
It is rough.
The quick jump back into test mode after almost literally freezing my ass off may have caused some issues in Section 1. Passages were nothing noteworthy, but I definitely wasn't warmed up in any sense of the word. Little cold weather humor there for you, Ben.
Thanks.
The games were absurdly easy. It really doesn't matter which is experimental because they were both equally easy. Okay, so all right, fine. This is kind of funny. Every law school on the planet sends ridiculous, quote, good luck with the LSAT emails the day of or before the test. My personal favorites were Arizona State sending an email asking if I was, quote, interested in going to law school, question mark. No shit. He's saying that as someone who's already registered for the test. Obviously, he's interested in going to law school, he said. Okay. Penn State Dickinson gave some last-minute strategies that included, quote, taking a diagnostic. The fuck? Question mark. And Pitt got really creepy by sending an email with the subject line, quote, Tyler, we desire to see your application. With all caps.
Dude,
or
that is...
caps on what do they call that?
Title case.
Title case, yes. Title case. Tyler, we desire to see your application.
That is so bizarre. Like, who sits behind the desk of these schools and these emails? Like, yeah, I don't know. It's funny.
That sounds so robotic. We desire to see your application. They could have gone with like a joke, or they could have gone like make it sound a little more personable, you know?
Yeah. I feel like that's from like a movie or something.
Oh, I have no idea. Is it?
I don't think I don't know. I just feel like that phrase, Tyler, we desire something. Anyways, that's very strange. Yeah.
It just sounds very robotic and like what a lawyer nerd might write. I don't know.
Yeah. So it seems like the source of turds of wisdom come from these law school emails right before test day. Because we got the last time there was that one about writing fast. Get your pencil moving.
Yeah, make sure you get going right off the bat. Got to get cracking. Yeah. Take a diagnostic right before the test. Okay. Tyler says, their desires are kind of freaking me out. Anyway, I took Nathan's online course and think that helped me absolutely crush the games. Oh, nice. The logical reasoning had a couple question types I had never seen before. Doesn't mean they haven't been around. Overall, I think it went okay. Keep on keeping on, Tyler. Nice.
Cool. Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah.
So the next one, this is from Anonymous. Looks like several different ideas. The high school mock UN competition and celebratory pizza party next door to our test room, complete with top of the lung teenage screaming and cheering. Okay, that was a fragment.
No, these are all fragments. It's not sentences.
We can figure out what happened.
It's just these are things that happened. All of these are things.
I like this. I like the fact that proctors are capitalized in the next sentence.
Oh,
the
yeah.
proctors who fumbled and whispered with each other for 5 hours.
They're fumbling with each other?
What is
that? Sounds a little sounds naughty.
I don't know what that means. The fellow test taker with a quart-sized bag of trail mix that was so full that even if he had been allowed to snack on it throughout the entire debacle, that was the University of Hartford's test administration, he'd still be working on it tomorrow.
I like that. The giant overfull quart size. He uses. Wait, are you allowed a quart size bag or a gallon size bag?
Wait, is a quart size even that big? I don't know if it's that big.
I think if a quart size bag is like the sort of small Ziploc bag, that's still a big ass bag of trail mix.
I'm looking up a quart size right now. Quart size trail mix. Because see, as a dad of 4 kids, we buy some pretty big bags of trail mix, and that's what I had in my mind. But now that we're talking about quart size, and that's going to be smaller than a gallon, so he could have. Oh no, I guess. Well, no, this is okay. So 4 pounds is what we usually buy, and that's pretty big. I don't think a quart's that big.
Jesus, all right. You guys eat a lot of trail mix.
Well,
right.
yeah, quart is small. Anyways, that's smaller than a gallon-sized bag.
It's pretty big for one dude for one half day test. That's a lot of snacking.
All right. We have a rule in our family, by the way. There's no cherry picking because trail mix always has like M&Ms and stuff. And that's if you look at our trail mix, usually those are all gone. You're like, I wonder what happened here. So people like to pick those out.
You try to make a rule that says no cherry picking.
Yeah, we tried. Well, we made the rule. We did make it. It's just that
you can have that rule. The enforcement of that is going to be pretty tough.
Yeah, it's only when I'm around.
Mm-hmm.
The dude that was distracted and appeared distressed by the barely perceptible hum from the fluorescent light and had to move his seat, who also drove off after the test in his really nice late model Porsche SUV.
And I'm not sure what that has to do with anything. Dude, he's got a nice car, but the dude who requests a seat change because of the fluorescent light, the humming, is not going to do well on the test.
I don't know. There seems to be a lot of mind reading here. Why was this guy distressed? Because of the hum of the fluorescent light?
Oh, he must have. I mean, he complained to the proctor. It sounds like got a seat change.
I don't know. These sentences seem to be stretching the bounds of imagination. I'm wondering if
Wow,
people are competing for, coolest sentences. Yeah, I could be wrong.
They're not sentences. None of them are sentences.
Yeah, the coolest fragments.
Yeah.
All right. So the Kaplan teacher who told one of them that the reason the LSAT doesn't allow mechanical pencils is that the clicking is annoying. I thought that might be one of the reasons. Is that not?
I mean, that sounds like speculation, but it seems like that stands to reason that could be one of the reasons why they don't allow mechanical pencils. I thought cheating had something to do with it, too.
I thought so, too. Someone somehow had cheated with a mechanical pencil, although I don't know what you do. Bring in notes?
No, record the test.
Record the test?
If it has a camera in it, yeah.
Really? In a mechanical
I
pencil?
think so. I heard people talking about that one time, that's what they're worried about, is like using a pen, a scanner thing.
Huh. Interesting. And me rolling my eyes no less than 4,000 times at everything.
Okay, that's hyperbole now.
Yeah. I don't even want to be a lawyer anymore. These cannot be my peers. All right. Well, one thing to help you sleep at night, most of these people probably won't be your peers. So don't worry about it. What? How many people get in that versus those who take the test? Do you have any idea? I think it's like half, no?
I would guess like half, and then of those half, only half are going to practice law.
Yep, there you go.
Right? Probably 25% of the people who are in any LSAT administration are actually going to ever practice law. That's my estimate.
Yeah, that's a good one. Anonymous ends by saying, I know you know my name, but I have to live in this community.
I think Anonymous should get out. I definitely get out now while you can. It's great. You just said, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. Good.
Done.
Don't. Do something else. See you.
The LSAT has served its purpose.
You figured it out. That's awesome. That's great. There's a million other things you could do. Go do any of those things. Don't do this. Perfect. Yeah. Okie doke.
Sweet.
Thank you for the email, Anonymous. Hi, Nathan and Ben. I am writing you this from an anonymous account because I have, quote, signed an agreement that bars test takers from discussing the contents of the test. Obviously, don't need to read all of this on the podcast or even read all of it yourselves. I'm part venting, part sharing info about the test. I was thinking about that earlier. They do have all of these kids sign agreements not to discuss the test. Mm-hmm. But how are they really going to enforce that? I mean, that just seems pretty hard for them to really enforce that. And Reddit just blows up every test. Like, they immediately are breaking down all of the content of the test. Like, they immediately figure out what the experimental sections were and everything, like, immediately after the test. So,
yeah.
This test was not very easy, period. For reference, the average of my last 15 practice tests was a 178.6 with a mode of 180.
Whoa.
and I feel pretty shitty about this test. Yeah, but it's all relative, though. I mean, when you're nailing 180s after 180s like that, you could have got a 178 and feel shitty about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
you don't get a couple questions.
The mode, Ben. We talked about this on the show before, right? The mode.
We did, but I don't know. I must have not known it before, but I know it now. Maybe it was from that episode.
You do know it now? You want to tell the listeners what the mode is?
Yeah, the mode is the most frequent number in a set of numbers.
Right. So if he had 15 tests and the average, he says average, so he means the arithmetic mean would be 178.6, but the mode, the most common number out of those 15 practice tests was a 180.
Yeah.
Pretty solid there. But
yeah.
Feels shitty. My section order, I don't care. Okay. First LR was easy. I thought this test was going swimmingly. The first logic game section had 2 tough games, and I thought in the back of my head this might be the experimental. The section was tough, but I finish, and I am only slightly uncertain about a couple questions. I come back from the break and flip to another LG section. Aha, I say. I was right. This will probably be a bit easier. First 3 games are easy as pie. I'm feeling good. Fourth game is basically a carbon copy of the virus game, this time with information leakers in an organization. And somehow this game is hard. I feel like I should know how to do it, but the questions just seem to be really tough. I ultimately run out of time and have to make a guess on the last question. A guess! All caps. I haven't had to do that in months on LG. That felt pretty bad. Can't wait for Nathan to say this game was easy on the podcast. Well, I haven't seen it yet. As soon as if it is, I will definitely say it's easy if it is easy.
Would you ever say that it's hard?
Yes, I would if it actually was hard. But a lot of these games What games do I think are actually hard?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's ones looking back. There's ones that are actually hard. The famous dinosaur one from June 2009. Everybody knows that one's hard. Mm-hmm. There's the one where Rosa can't get off before Mineola.
Yeah.
I hate that game.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's the one that has a VJ in the game, and there's a guy named J. So and then there's a rule about VJ and J. So if you're focusing on the names at all, it's confusing. But
wow.
I never do that. So I always just focus on the letters, And then someone's like, why is that guy's name VJ?
I've never noticed that before. Wow. Yeah, the name VJ doesn't bother me at all. I mean, it's just whatever. It's like an Indian name, but he's VJ and he's just V in the game. So then I don't care that there's also a J in the game.
Yeah.
I hate that game. There's one, a circular sequencing game that I really hate, like 8 people sitting around a table or something like that.
Yeah, is it the picnic one?
Game. Yeah, I don't like that game.
Yep.
I don't know. What about you?
One of my least favorites is bus seats.
Oh, yeah. That one's tough. 6 people. It doesn't seem like it should be that hard, right? Isn't it only 6 people?
It's only 6
window
people,
and aisle.
And they fill up... it feels like you can do worlds with that because of the 2 people who sit next to each other, and they can only be in 2 locations, and so it's like, oh, wow. But all the questions just basically force you to go back to the rules. So it's a really slow, slogging game.
Yeah, all these games that we're mentioning, by the way, are pretty old. I mean, I'm trying to think of what's the recently the most difficult game? I mean, maybe that office selection game, but even that one is not very tough. Yeah,
I think that's a good one, though. I mean,
it has some easy questions, boy.
I think it's noteworthy because it's a lot of the questions are just, does this have to be true or could this be true? And so when you're trying to understand what's going on, you can't really make any inferences, so you just have to go back and start applying the rules again. But if you do understand what's going on, then it's easier, I would say.
Yeah, I don't think there's been anything recently that's like really that super challenging. So anyway, so there is an update here this is also anonymous. We have an update here. Reddit says the second game section was the experimental. So this new virus clone, it's like that computer virus game, but it was in his experimental section. It's not the real games, apparently.
Hey, so one thing that his second game section was experimental. The experimental can come at any point, though, right? So it's not like...
Right.
Yeah, that's universal information. Okay. Just to clarify, if you had 2 game sections, your first one may have been experimental.
Right. But he went on Reddit and figured out that the Redditors have decided that that second section that he had was experimental.
Based on the type of, or the content of the games. Yeah.
Yeah, based on nobody else had, or there were people who only had one game section, and the people who only had one game section did not have this game that he's describing.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the kind of thing you're not supposed to be doing, right? They don't want people to be going online and figuring all this out.
Yeah.
Before, I guess, because they don't want people to do it before the score cancellation. Is that why? I don't think we have to worry about anything because this doesn't come out until after the score cancellation deadline. So I don't think we have to.
I don't know, actually, because I thought their main concern would just be other people taking the test, but I thought they've been pretty good at making sure the tests are pretty well coordinated. I mean, I guess they're not necessarily that well coordinated all across the world. I thought they would be most concerned about people sharing information that would get into the hands into someone who hasn't taken the test yet and will be taking it in the next few hours.
Yeah, well, or the next day, right? I mean, we got accommodated test takers taking the test the next day frequently.
Are they taking the same test though? That's
sometimes I think so. And we also have some Saturday Sabbath test takers, right? This test was on Saturday, and then there are people who were taking it yesterday, Monday the 4th. And so they might be taking the same test sometimes. I got a text message from a dude who said, it was kind of funny because he was complaining. He was a random stranger. I have no idea who this is, but it was like, hey, I just wanted to run this by you. My buddy got his test rescheduled at the last minute. So then, and he's taking it tomorrow. So then after the test, I talked to him and I told him everything about the test that I had just taken. Isn't that unfair?
You're like, yes, and
yeah, I'm like, yeah, kind of sound, yeah. If he takes the exact same test, that does sound kind of unfair. Yeah, wow, good job.
Yeah, yeah. There was that email we got too from someone who was saying the same thing. Now that you're talking about it, right? They, their roommate or something like that was taking the test the next day because of accommodations, and they didn't want to, or no, they were taking it the next day for accommodations, and their roommate had taken it on Saturday or whatever, and they wanted to ask their roommate about the test, but they decided not to because they figured it would be a different test, but then it turned out to be the same test. And
the exact same test.
Kicking themselves for not asking about it.
Yeah.
I think that's their main concern.
Yeah. Not that you can, I mean, how much can you really learn? I guess you could learn on the games. Definitely people would be like, well, do worlds, you know, like if that would be a really good tip, right? If it was like on this game, you should do worlds. On this game, maybe not so much, but on this game, you can definitely do worlds and kill it.
Yeah.
That would really help a lot, I think.
The other thing is if you don't finish games, right? And someone told you that the second game is awful, then you're saving yourself by not trying to go down that rabbit hole. So.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So anyway, this is, again, to recap, we've been talking about this for 20 minutes now, but this is the same emailer who, was averaging 178.6 and then thought that it didn't go well.
Yeah.
Okay. And super pissed apparently because had to guess on one question on the games, the one that counted. He had to guess on one of the questions.
Yeah.
Okay. He does later in the update at the end. He says that there are 2 games on there. He specifically says Metro Trains game and an office cleaning game. And he says that they were surprisingly tough to be in a section together. Allegedly. Okay. This is where it gets a little bit insane. Did you read all this part?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know how much of this. Do I want to read this whole thing?
I don't know.
It's a little bit of a wall.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe this is another... You could give all the other listeners a sense of what type of shit they're getting themselves into, right?
I do think it's interesting how much of this question this correspondent apparently remembers, and this seems to be typical of people who do really well on the test, right? They're so
They can
keyed
remember.
in. Yeah, so keyed into what they're reading and what's going on that when they struggle, they clearly remember it because their mind is like racing all around it trying to figure it out.
Although but I think that this correspondent did not do very well on the test. Not relative to them. I think that they definitely didn't do very well. Like reading the rest of this part, there's some stuff in here that just can't possibly be right.
Yeah, they're missing something.
Yeah, they fucked up basically. So anyway, here we go. The last logical reasoning section was a bit tougher than expected. I don't doubt that it was partly due to my game's hangover. That's because of having to guess on one question, by the way. Oh, and then the experimental section. He got roughed up in the experimental section, and then he's freaked out. He's got a hangover from that. But there was a string of questions from something like number 10 to 12 that was just nonsense. And so that's where I say, I beg to differ. Like, there's no way.
Something's going on. You're thinking too much about other stuff.
Yeah, you lost your mind and you made it hard for yourself somehow. I mean, I don't know if you're trying to go too fast or if you're just outsmarting yourself somehow, but those questions, I guarantee those questions made sense. I mean, maybe one of them was a little tricky, weird or something, but they made sense.
You know, I almost wonder if someone in his score range is almost more likely to suffer from this, like, perfection, like, breakdown.
Yeah.
Right? Because you expect so much of yourself, given your past results, that when you miss a question or two, you start panicking and not thinking about what you're actually doing in the moment.
When you average 178.6 on your last 15 practice tests, you know what my overwhelming thought is on that? Why the fuck are you continuing to do practice tests?
It's just like...
What are you doing?
Afraid of... You know,
you don't need a 180. You don't need a 178. Nobody needs more than a 175. I mean, you're already above the 90. You're above the 75th percentile at every single school when you have a 175. So you don't need to do this. Like 15 practice. I mean, I would almost go so far as to say, like, you get a 178 ever and you just decide to shut it down almost. It's just like, why, like, okay, wow. That's a lot of practice. That's a lot of work for somebody who's that high. God damn. And then end up freaking out on test day.
Yeah.
It's like bad mojo somehow. I don't know. Anyway, so here's the part where, okay, I'll read all this, and if it sounds like he thinks he remembers this. It says, in particular, there was a question that went something like the following. Quote, there's an ancient Greek play called Knights. In the play, a character reads a tablet from an oracle. He shouts about how awesome it is. His friend asks him to tell him what it says. Character then explains the meaning of the tablet. Question, which of the following can most credibly be rejected on the basis of the information above? I mean, so what type of question is that?
Cannot be true.
Yeah, must be false, which is a hell of a lot like must be true. We're just looking for something that has been proven to be false.
Yep.
Okay, so no big deal there. I mean, I wouldn't, who cares? Like, just find the one that it's the opposite of what it says.
Yep.
Okay, this is question 10, so I assume it will be fairly clear. Nope. The answer choices are nearly all about Greek society or theater as a whole. I ultimately narrow it down to, it was common for written text to be read aloud by a character in Greek theater, and the character was not based on a historical figure. What? He's paraphrasing here, like he doesn't really remember the exact words, right? Obviously, he doesn't remember the exact words. Otherwise, this question, we would know the answer. Anyway, I initially think it's this historical figure one, Moses, ? And then I start to question it. This is where it goes. Now he's losing his mind completely.
Yeah.
Okay.
over.
Here's the rant that we get is, I'm a fucking atheist. I don't know what Moses did or if he had a friend there when he got the 10 Commandments or whatever. Does Moses even predate ancient Greece? Does LSAC expect me to know these things? Seems unlikely. So I pick the other answer, though very dissatisfied. If it's this historical figure one, I'm going to sue for religious discrimination. Oh boy. My proctors and test site were fine, thankfully, but here's one kind of funny story from my testing center. It was my first time taking the test, and I'm a 20-year-old dweeb. So even though I feel confident because of my practice tests, there are plenty of jitters. There's this one guy standing against the wall while we're waiting to go in, looking very suave, calm, and handsome, making me think that maybe everybody taking this test is smarter and better looking than I am, thus intensifying the jitters. Somebody starts chatting him up, and it comes out that it's his third time taking the test. Okay, well, this guy must really want a great score, I think. Next, it comes out that his first 2 tests he scored in the mid-140s. Yikes. Maybe law school is not for this guy. Then, icing on the cake, the guy says he's 33. 33! All caps. 33 is young in the grand scheme of being a human, but pretty darn old to be trying and failing at the LSAT. He's probably not a listener, but if he is, please tell him to move on with his life. Best, Anon.
Did you just edit damn into darn? Are you trying to clean up the show?
No. Did I say darn? And it's, it's because the M can look like an R a lot. But did I really say darn instead of damn?
You said
it says
darn.
damn.
It's okay. We can keep it clean.
Yeah. I've only said fuck like 8 times already on the show today. Okay. Anyway, I want to tell Anon here. I want to give Anon a little bit of advice to just calm down a little bit. It's all right. You just relax. It's cool. You don't need to worry about this guy who's 33, who's suave and calm and handsome. And you don't need to worry about him and his taking the test 3 times and the fact that it's fine. You're only 30 points higher than he is on the LSAT, so he's of no concern to you.
Yeah. Feeling threatened by the little dog. Nothing's gonna.
Yeah. He had a tough day. This correspondent had a tough day, and he's mad about it. I mean, he probably still scored 170, but probably gonna want to retake. It sounds like, because probably has a high 170s in the bag somewhere, but doesn't sound like it came out on this test. Should we move on to the next correspondent?
Do it. Okay. Sorry, it's loading now. Okay, here we go. Hi, Ben. Hi, Nathan. You can use my name, that's fine. Or you can call me Lando Calrissian. How do you say that last name?
Calrissian.
Calrissian? From Star Wars?
Yeah.
I didn't know his last name. I just called him Lando.
Well, he's Lando Calrissian, dude.
When do they say his name? They never say it in the show.
They say it 100 times.
Never.
No, I don't know.
When they have that dinner, maybe. You can call me Lando. Okay, we'll call you. Oh, but only use the full name. Damn, I don't want to use the full name. The information above is about myself is below. I just wanted to start with the interesting bit. On December 1st, LSAC published some reports. Wow, this is timely. You'll be happily unhappy to know that a lot of the information in the report seems to support some of the ideas about accommodations you guys have mentioned on the podcast. In this report called the Predictive Validity of Accommodated LSAT Scores for the 2007 to 2011 Entering Law School Classes. Sorry, I just had to read that because that's a classic LSAC title. On the top of the page 42, it says, Okay, it says, results from this study suggest that LSAT scores obtained under accommodated extra time testing conditions are not comparable to LSAT scores obtained under non-accommodated testing conditions. Well, that's obvious on one level, but I think what this person is saying and what this report is saying is that there are some differences even when you take into account the extra time and stuff, right? If that's what I remember correctly.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. They also published a report on accommodations trends. from 2012 to 2017. Here are just a few parts that I found interesting. A graph from page 8 indicates that the number of requests for accommodations has more than doubled, and the percentage of approved requests has moved from less than 50% to almost 80% in this 5-year period. Okay, so that's what we've been saying, and that is confirmed in this data.
Look at the number of approved requests, just total approved requests.
Yeah, total approved, I'm seeing 3,000 for 2016.
Yeah, it went from 729 in 2012-13.
Yep.
And then like the same number the next year. And then it just started escalating and ends up at 3,000 in 2016-2017.
Yeah.
So 4 times as many accommodated test takers in the span of 5 years.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you lose a lawsuit and everybody finds out and everybody starts applying for accommodations.
Yeah.
How many total people taking the test?
Well, there's 100,000 a year, about 105 right now. So
now we're up to 3% of the test takers?
Yeah, 3% of test takers are getting accommodations.
Okie doke.
Okay.
They're barely turning anybody down, dude. Wow, 80%. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's interesting because usually when requests go up, you'd expect approvals to actually go down, at least in terms of percentages. But no, requests are going up and approval percentages are going up, which of course is now going to increase requests even more because it's like, hey, everyone's getting it. Why not try?
Yeah.
All right, so this interesting report continues. A quote from page 2 about demographic trends. African American and Asian accommodated test takers were underrepresented, and Caucasian white accommodated test takers were overrepresented compared to their representation in the non-accommodated group. Other racial ethnic subgroups were similarly represented in the accommodated group compared to the non-accommodated group. Okay, well, let's talk about these percentages. It says that's a mouthful, but basically the number of self-reported Caucasians who took the test normally has not been higher than 60% of test takers in a given year of the past 5 years. Okay, so there hasn't been more than 60% of the test takers who are white, and this is under normal conditions. But the percentage of accommodated test takers who are white was 65% during the same 5-year period. So of accommodated test takers, 65% are white versus only 60% in the general population of the test. That's not surprising.
I'm not surprised at all that accommodated testing skews white. That is not a shocker to me.
Yep. The number of African Americans, for example, who take the test is certainly low, but it has not been lower than 10% of test takers in the past 5 years. Now, these are interesting numbers.
Yep.
Okay, so of all normal test takers, and I mean normal as in time, etc., 10% are, or roughly 10% are African Americans. However, of those who did receive accommodations, only 7% are African American. So,
yeah. These aren't huge discrepancies, by the way.
No, they're not huge, but they just continue to add to the challenge, right, of this situation.
Yeah, I mean, we're not surprised that basically rich folks are getting accommodations more than poor folks.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems pretty clear that's what's going to happen.
Here's some information on the scores, and this is unsurprising as well. The average score gained for second-time accommodated extra-time test takers was 2.74 points, which is almost equal to the 2.8 score gain typically observed by the non-accommodated group. Okay, that's not really very interesting. But the next thing, the average score gain for those who switched from non-accommodated to accommodated was 7.5.
Yeah. So people are when people retake, they generally score about 3 points higher, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's because they've prepped more and, whatever. And they're retaking because they fucked up the first time. So now they're taking it again and they get a few points higher. By the way, that right there isn't enough to justify taking the test again. 3 points is awesome. So it's always worth taking it again for 3 points. But yeah, those who switched from non-accommodated to accommodated are getting 7.5. So some of that is just the normal retake bump, but a lot of that is the accommodations bump.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yep.
All right. Looks like you guys have some competition from Dr. Beverly Hills 90210. I would gladly pay $1,800 for 7.5 extra points if I could afford it. Yeah, well, that's what a lot of people are doing. I've even heard of people flying to California since the episode.
Have you really?
I have.
To go see Dr. Malov?
Yes.
Holy fucking shit. What?
I mean, they said they were doing that, and I said, sounds like a good idea, because you can get accommodations, and they said that there wasn't someone in their area. So what's a plane ticket? That was their rationale. I said, yeah, what's a plane ticket?
If they're going to come all this way, they should definitely buy me a beer. I feel like I should Dr. Malov could get $1,800. I should get a beer out of this.
Okay, I'll try to track him down and let him
hit
know.
me up. Yeah.
Accommodated test takers are taking a different test, and yet no one who matters is allowed to know this. All of this reminds me of that War Games quote that the only winning move is to not play. Except in this game, the only winning move is to play the accommodation game. Yeah. I haven't seen that War Games movie in a long time. Isn't that the one about the kid who, like...
With Matthew Broderick? Matthew Broderick?
Yeah, that's right. That's what it is, right? Yeah, okay, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I mean, relax, it's only 3% of all test takers right now. And I would say many of those people deserve it. Like many of the people getting accommodated are scoring lower than you are, and just don't worry about it. But as a policy thing and going forward, this is definitely something that people need to keep an eye on, because, if it keeps going this direction, it's going to become a problem.
Yeah.
I don't think any individual test taker needs to be freaking out about this. I mean, if you have some case for accommodations, I think you should certainly try to get them. But if you don't worry about it. Just calm down.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where these sort of top out, right? Like, it's going up right now. So, 2015, 2016, it was 2%. In 2014, right when the court case came out, it was around 1%. So it's gone up 1% each year. Does that keep happening for the next 5 years, or is it kind of even out at 6%?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously we're part of the problem now because we're getting this information out there, and now our listeners are flying across the country to go. Dr. Malov's getting rich, and I mean, I don't know, but hey, this is not our idea. We didn't set this system up, so
nope.
Please don't blame us. We're just trying to shed some light. And I don't know. It's for you lot to figure out. Y'all are the lawyers, so you guys can figure it out. Ben and I, mercifully, are not. It's not our responsibility. Thank God.
Yeah.
There's going to be it seems like obviously there's going to be some more litigation about this, right?
Yeah, I think there will be. Yeah.
Don't involve me. Please do not mention my name. I do not want to be involved in this in any fashion.
Exhibit 2, Thinking LSAT Podcast, episode 117.
No, I will not do it. If I'm subpoenaed, I will show up. Otherwise, I am not participating in this bullshit. Okay.
Cool, man.
No one would ever subpoena me. I don't know anything. I'm not an expert.
We wouldn't be useful. No.
No.
We'd just get up there and ramble.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine myself.
Was War Games with Matthew Broderick? Oh, yeah.
I just imagine myself like grabbing the microphone in the courtroom. Like, yeah, hey, is this thing on? Hello? Yep. Hey, what's up, everybody? Just rambling in the court. Oh, boy. We're on to the next one. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have any name on
You
this.
keep
What's this?
talking.
Another anonymous thing. Hey, everybody. Oh, that's right. It's Lando. That's right. This is Lando Calrissian. Okay. All right. Thanks, Lando, for the update. That actually was a very data-heavy, really interesting email. So thank you very much. That's, for me,
Yeah.
that's email of the show so far. That was awesome.
You did all the work for us. Thank you.
Exactly.
Very much.
Yes. Thank you for doing a lot of work for us. We appreciate that. Okay. Next one.
Do you want to read this one?
Yeah, but I'm confused. This line here, is that supposed to be the divide? Okay. All right. Here, I think this is where we're starting. Here?
Sure.
Okay. I think my story would have been something I would have wanted to hear when I began studying, so I'm sharing it with you guys. I'm a 148 to 163 feel-good story. Nice. I put a 160 on record in September by focusing on accuracy. I just focused on doing 18 questions per LR and getting them all correct. I was able to do this because I was confident with my logic games, but even if I wasn't, it wouldn't matter. It's still the correct way to take this test. So thanks again for that. On the September test, I got a -4 of the questions attempted in one LR section and a 19 out of 19 attempted on the second LR section. At the 5-minute mark, I took a moment to mark an answer for the questions I wouldn't attempt. I always put a line of B's. In addition, when I finished all the questions I thought I was going to attempt before the 5 minutes were over, the first thing I would do after forming a pre-phrased answer was look at B to see if it was what I was looking for. If it wasn't, I would immediately erase B on my sheet and continue from there. Do you understand what he's talking about? That sounds
very complicated.
overly complicated.
Yeah.
Why are you determining how many questions you're going to attempt at the 5-minute mark? I wouldn't do that. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Mark all of the one. Mark every remaining question. Who cares? If you have to erase one or two, who cares? I would just, at the 5-minute mark, I like the plan of just bubbling in all B's or whatever.
Sure. And
That's
then
fine.
Erase as you get a new answer.
Yeah.
You get a new answer and you're like, oh, wait, it's actually D. I'm going to erase B and put in D.
I don't like it when people like leave 3 blank or something. Like, well, these are the ones I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. Because maybe you're going to do 3, maybe you're not. Maybe you're going to do 1. Maybe you're going to do 2. I don't know. I wouldn't be doing that. I don't like that.
Here's the big value with doing this. I think people are like, wait, why am I doing this extra work, bubbling things in and then erasing them and, putting in a new answer? Why not just wait till the end or something like that? Because as soon as you bubble in those remaining answer choices, you're no longer thinking or worried about them, right? If you're constantly thinking in your mind, when are they going to end the section? Are they going to end it now? Should I stop and bubble in now? You're just draining yourself and preventing yourself from focusing. Right.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's only 1/7 of the remaining time anyway, so there's not that much time left when the proctor says 5 minutes. So just go ahead and bubble in all your guesses. Those are going to be free points. 1 out of 5 of those is going to be a free point. And then, you can do 1 or 2 more questions, and you'll probably have to erase one of those random guesses and bubble in a new answer. So what? It takes 3 seconds to erase. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay. I did the same thing with Prep Test 83 yesterday, except I increased the number of questions I planned to attempt. Okay, so I don't care that you're planning to attempt a certain number of questions. I wish you wouldn't. I wish you would just do your best on however many you get to. But I love that you're calling it Prep Test 83 while you're taking it. That's awesome. That's exactly the right way to be thinking about the official test. Okay, so this is the from Prep Test 83 report. The girl in front of me had a box of 30 pencils and 2 yellow highlighters. In her defense, she only took like 6 or 7 out of the box. There was another guy with, from what I could see, about 10 pencils, but curiously, 2 pencil sharpeners. You got to bring a backup pencil sharpener, Ben.
If you have backup pencils, You don't need any pencil sharpeners.
Did you know that it's illegal to bring an electric eraser to the test?
I didn't know that it was illegal.
It's not, well, okay, fine, illegal. It's against the rules and regulations of the LSAT to bring a electric eraser.
Wait, what? What's an electric eraser?
So my mom for a while had a little home drafting business. She made like house plans and stuff.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And it was old school, like pencil and paper before it all went computerized. And so she had this like super fancy drafting table, and it was all pencils. And she had a plug-in electric eraser that, because she would be doing like some serious, if she had to erase, she's erasing like a whole wall or whatever, and she would have to be doing some serious erasing. So she had an electric eraser. But then it made me laugh when I read that in the rules and regs.
Yeah, no, that's
that you can't bring one of those. I'm imagining somebody bringing that to the LSAT.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, someone did it, and they're like,
awesome.
Okay, add it to the list. The list that's like
right.
long.
Yeah, it is. It's stupid. Okay, another lady behind me in line was speaking to her friend about how she took only a couple timed LSATs because she wanted to know how to take the test before she took the test. To which her friend replied, "Totally, that's smart." At which point, in my head, I added 2 more LSAT scores that my score will sit comfortably on top of in the distribution. That's a kind of an asshole thing to think, but that's exactly how I think when I'm taking this test. I look around at everybody else freaking out and saying stupid things with their dumb advice, and I just kind of go, yeah. Y'all, I don't need to worry about y'alls.
You really like that word, don't you?
Well, there I said y'alls.
Y'alls.
I like it, especially when you put the S at the end of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have
to. I felt good about the. Sorry.
I think I might have to start saying you all.
You all.
Just to have a little different faction on the show.
Okay. I felt good about the test, but you never know until you know. Good luck, everyone, and go team. What?
I don't know.
Lee should publish. Go team. Lee should publish. Oh, wait. That's an LR question. That's the Professor Lee or something like that, and whether the thing is going to be published. If the book is published this year, you know that question, Ben. If it's as important and well written,
that's not Lee.
As so and so. No, it's not. It's not Lee. It's Lee would make the. It was Professor Lee or something like that would make the recommendation,
Lee,
right?
I think.
Oh, Nguyen.
There goes my pronunciation.
Yeah. Okay, I have no idea what that means then. All right. Best regards, Keith.
Keith. Cool.
Next one?
Yeah. Hi, Ben and Nathan. I'm Junani, pseudonym looked up online by Nathan. What is that?
Yeah, because she wanted a different name. And so we had her real name. So I looked up a Sri Lankan pseudonym for her. I thought that was a very nice thing for me to do.
That was so nice of you.
So I gave myself credit.
You did a 30-second Google search. That's nice of you. I'm Junani from Sri Lanka, recently moved to the U.S., who is currently studying for the LSAT. I have an LLB, graduated last year, and I passed the Sri Lankan bar exam this May. I currently work as a paralegal in U.S. and am hoping to sit for the February LSAT. I have a few burning questions that need answers! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Wow. I must say that your podcast has helped me a lot to get over many confusions that I've had lately. Thank you for that. So, I'm reading the PowerScore Bibles, which are pretty good. I also purchased Law Schooly 4 months schedule sometime back. Okay. I'm not a big fan of these schedules, by the way, but
no.
I mean, I don't know anything specifically about Law Schooly's schedules, but just schedules in general don't take into account the person who's studying. They're just like blanket.
Yeah, they always seem gimmicky to me. It's like if it doesn't fit exactly how much time you have available, then I don't understand
Yeah,
the
it's
point
like,
of it.
you have 8 weeks, so you will do this amount of work each day. It just makes a lot of assumptions about how quickly you can comprehend what you're studying, and you
Yeah.
need the time to really understand it. And if you're doing well, then maybe you can move faster than those schedules. And if you're not doing that well, then you need to slow down and understand what you can, not what the schedule is telling you have to get done. So,
Yeah, I agree.
sorry. I'm reading Power Score Bibles, which are pretty good. I also purchased these schedules some time back, but it's only now that I figured it doesn't include a time frame for reading comprehension Bible.
I think that's because they don't want you to do the reading comprehension Bible, which I think Ben and I would both endorse.
Yeah, too much, too many tactics.
Well, you can practice reading comp all you want, but I just don't know that the tactics in there are going to do anything for you.
They just say do practice tests, and that would suffice to get through the section. Yeah.
I
Do
agree.
you think I should be reading the book to find some strategies, or would just doing practice questions be enough? Well, I would do practice questions and then review them, and if you don't understand them, look up, talk to people who understand them, so you can understand why you got them wrong.
Yeah, I have never recommended the Power Score Reading Comprehension Bible to anybody, so I would say you could just do a bunch of reading comprehension passages.
Yeah. Question number 2. My law school, 4 years LLB, doesn't calculate a GPA, and they never disclose what we got for exams. They say that's their policy. So I'm just wondering, how would law schools here look at it after the report evaluation? I know for a fact that they accept it here, since many folks from my school come for LLMs, mostly Harvard, Yale, and Georgetown. I have no idea.
I have no idea either. I'm just very skeptical of what I've seen of LLMs, which was tainted by my experience at UC Hastings. I'm skeptical of the value of LLMs, but maybe we can wait until we get through this email before I go off on my rant about that.
3. I'm confused as to where I should find proper LSAT question explanations for further review. Do you have any advice? One thing I would say is that you can sign up for a free account at strategyprep.com and get access to a lot of explanations. You can't get access to all of them, but you can get access to a lot of them. And some of them are organized by test, and so you should be able to find explanations for at least some of the questions you're struggling with. Do you have any suggestions, Nathan?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a good place to pitch my free online class, foxlsat.com/free, Ben's free LSAT class, strategyprep.com/free. My logical reasoning encyclopedia is a pretty good resource for high quality logical reasoning explanations that are like designed to actually teach you something instead of just kind of, here's a solution, but it's sort of like teaching the way through the question. Like, here's how you should be reading this. Here's how you should be understanding this. Here's how you should be reacting to this. So yeah, I mean, but if you like our style, Ben's got a lot of stuff. I got a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe I would start there.
4. There are a few schools out there that would accept me without LSAT. They call it Advanced JD for Foreign Educated Lawyers. Advanced.
Yeah, right. Advanced JD.
But I'm trying to get a scholarship rather than paying for it. Also, I'm shooting for a T1 law school.
Tier 1. Whatever that means.
You're shooting for the top law school. If I don't end up in a Tier 1 law school, will being a foreign attorney would be of any advantage? Would being a foreign attorney be of any advantage when I'm looking for jobs after my JD?
Not when you read a sentence like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe they mean disadvantage. Like, I just don't see how being a foreign attorney is an advantage in the United States, really. I don't it may be, I mean, speaking a different language and, you know, having connections and being familiar with a culture somewhere else, if there's a business need to do, you know, if they're doing business with some other place. Otherwise, I don't know that there's any advantage.
No, honestly, I mean, I'll be completely frank. I feel like it's a disadvantage if your language is a barrier. Because...
Yeah. Oh, well, that's 100%.
Yep,
right.
And so you...
Right.
Because a firm doesn't want to take that on and then have to deal with that, because you're basically a high paid writer. And so if you're looking for a job at a firm that has an international presence and is looking for attorneys who are familiar with the law of your country, because they're doing some deals there that depend on local law, then
Yep.
I think you'd be extraordinarily valuable.
Absolutely.
But in all other cases, I
Yes.
just don't see how it helps.
Well, it's outweighed by the disadvantage of poor
Yeah.
English. Right? I mean, and I'm not trying to insult Junani here at all. You know, it's not like this is a terribly written email, but we're both stumbling over several different things in this one email. Right. And as Ben's been reading this, he's been like adding articles in where the article was removed. And there's all kinds of English problems with this email. And all that stuff, like they're going to notice that. And that's going to be tough when you're applying for a job.
They're not going to want to deal with that.
They don't. No. Yeah. It's just a hassle. Like that's not what they're looking for.
I'm still deciding whether to take an online course since we don't have any classroom courses where I live. Thank you so much for your awesome podcasts, all caps. And thanks so much a bunch for reading my email. Yeah, thanks for writing.
Yeah, thanks for writing, and smiley faces. I mean, Junani, it's very nice email and very well thought out and structured and everything. And I feel bad for like slamming on her English, but you know, that's just the kind of thing that when you're producing legal documents, that's going to be the hard thing, I think.
Yep.
I'm super skeptical of these LLMs. Foreign lawyers come to the United States and they can choose between a JD or an LLM. An LLM is like a 1-year program and a JD is a 3-year program, of course. JD, you know, to them, it feels like JD, it's like starting over. And it's 3 years instead of 1 year. And so, you know, that's, I don't know about this advanced JD for foreign educated lawyers, whatever the hell that is.
Yeah.
But if they're accepting you without the LSAT, I'm just really afraid of these people getting ripped off. And so here's my rant against the LLM program at UC Hastings, at least when I was there. I had friends of friends who were in that LLM program, and they paid Hastings however much money, $50,000 or more for their 1-year program. And these people they really struggled, Ben, with English. You could have a conversation with them and you could tell that they were just not a native English speaker, and it was just difficult for them. And and then they end up failing the bar 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, giving up. And the program to me just seemed like a scam. Yeah. That just doesn't seem like that person. They shouldn't have been there in the first place. Like, I'm not sure if Hastings was requiring the LSAT or not, but the LSAT can protect you. That's the purpose. That's the whole point to begin with. That's why the ABA requires an admissions test, right? Is because they want to save you from yourself. They'll save you from these law schools that are going to rip you off. So I'm just really worried about all these foreign educated lawyers. Like they just, I already have a JD from my country. Yeah. Okay, great. That's awesome. You can practice, and I can practice law in my country. Yeah. Okay. That's great. That does not mean that you're going to be able to just come here, get an LLM, and automatically be practicing law in the United States. It just doesn't work that way in my experience. Now, of course, many people do make it. The ones that I saw that were successful, though, I mean, they seemed like they were from Europe and had sort of better English to begin with. And it's, Anyway, I just, every time I get a call from somebody who's asking about about LLM, or when the second I hear somebody say that they have a law degree from another country, I'm like, oh shit. Like, I don't know. It worries me.
Yeah. So wait, did you say that the 1-year program at Hastings cost $150,000?
No. I said 50,000 or whatever. I thought it was the same as the JD tuition, or I don't know. I actually don't know. I assumed that if it was a 1-year program, I assumed it was 1 year of Hastings tuition. That could be totally wrong. I doubt if it would be less though.
One thing to think about here is we say it over and over again, but the presumption that you initially proposed was to not pay for law school, right? Even if you can't go for free, even if you have to pay something, the more the school gives you in grant money, in other words, the more they discount the price that they want to charge, the less you have to pay, the more likely it is that they really value you and see you doing something for the school, right? If you're not paying anything, then they see you as bringing something to the school, which means they think that you're going to succeed. If you're paying everything, then sure, on some level they want you to succeed because they don't want their numbers to be awful. But on another level, they just don't really care because now you're someone who's funding the enterprise. And so you just have to be very cautious. But this is one more reason why you should try not to pay anything or very, very little to prove that you're really going to a place that you can succeed at and do well and graduate and all that stuff.
Yeah, the schools are competing for the students that they want the most. They're competing for the students that they think are going to do the best in law school and do the best as lawyers. And when a law school is giving half the class, half ride or more, which is happening, right? I mean, there's a lot of law schools are giving, like 80% of the class is getting some money, and they're giving 50% of the class 50% or more. When that's what's happening, you know, if you're not getting the scholarship, that's the school pretty clearly telling you that they don't think you're going to do well. Mm-hmm. they're like, well, you can come here, but you're going to have to pay for yourself and one of these scholarship kids. You know, we need to fund our school somehow. And these ones, the really promising, the ones that we really want, they're going to come here for free or for less. Yeah. And yeah, you can come here, but you're going to have to pay full price though. Yep. I mean, that's a sign. That's a signal that you're, I'd love to see, boy, that'd be great to see a study about whether scholarship money correlates with grades. That's almost certain to be true, except if they stack the sections. Have you heard of this practice? Okay. So this is one that I had a friend at Santa Clara who said that they were doing this, where they would give, X percentage of the class is getting scholarships, right? And then you have to get a certain GPA in order to retain your scholarship, right? Yeah. But the classes are curved, right? I'm going to keep saying right. The classes are curved, and they have multiple sections, and they put all the scholarship students in the same section. Ouch.
That is clever, of course. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry you didn't make the grade cutoff, but you can continue for full price. Yeah, that's playing against
this
the house.
This is allegedly. This is a third-person report from a friend who is at Santa Clara. So, I allegedly, don't sue me, Santa Clara. But apparently the student had the impression that that's what they were doing.
That alleged tale reminded me of a very interesting study that stuck with me ever since I read it. Maybe this is common knowledge. Correct me or stop me if it is. But the study was basically focusing in on these stereotypes that people have about car salesmen, lawyers, people like that that people generally think are cheating other people. They think that they're a bad part of our society. And they said that the study's purpose was to see whether car salespeople actually steal or lie or cheat more than other, groups. And what they found was that, yes, it is true that they do engage in unethical behavior more frequently than other groups do. But what they also found out was that if you take another group, such as doctors or something like that, and you give them opportunities, or you don't necessarily give them, but you look at doctors who have opportunities to cheat, they're just as likely to cheat as any other group. So what they concluded was that it doesn't actually have to do with the group of individuals you've decided to associate yourself with. It's more how many opportunities do you have to cheat in your profession? And the more opportunities that you have to cheat, the more likely it is that you're going to take them. So everyone is the same. And if there's an opportunity, you're more likely to take it and therefore more likely to cheat. But it's not because you're a car salesperson or something like that. And so when you were talking about that, I was thinking about these law schools. And if they have opportunities to take advantage, I just don't see why they wouldn't.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it's like we're not judging you. It's just that's the game. I mean, that's the system.
Humans, right?
It's all set up to be. It's set up that way, and so yeah, they are. If it's possible to take advantages will be taken. Do.
Yep.
Normally, yeah. That makes me think of like bartenders, like service industry, which is like notorious for all kinds of stealing. But it's like it's not because bartenders are bad people. It's because they're handling cash all the time. And it's because they're handling booze all the time. And so then it's easy to just pour free drinks in exchange for tips or, short the cash drawer, whatever. There's like a million ways that, that people that handle money like that all the time can steal. So it's just sort of, so crimes of opportunity, basically. And what we're saying is law schools have all kinds of opportunities to steal from
they're
students.
the house, right, in that transaction. So why wouldn't they stack the deck in their favor? That's what they set the rules. Yeah. Especially
with the student loan, the crazy. So we have doctors who cheat insurance companies all the time, right? Because of the way the incentives are set up. So the insurance companies don't really care because they just pass on the higher premiums, and so the doctors just jack up fees unnecessarily or bill for unnecessary stuff all the time. And so, so the law schools just, they have every incentive to just let their tuition go up and up and up and up because student loan borrowers they don't have to pay it right away. They're dumb. So they just think, naively just think they can just, it's fine. The borrowers don't care because the borrowers get paid because the students can't ever file bankruptcy to get rid of the debt. And so it's just this. I mean, the students. It's not the student today who gets screwed. It's the student. The future version of that same student is the one that gets screwed 4 years from now. Oh man, my good friend who's at Southwestern Law School. She's about to finish up, but I was hanging out with her yesterday, and she was telling me about some 1L that she was counseling. And she's at Southwestern on a scholarship, and she's doing well, and she's going to have a job and everything. It's great. But she was telling me about some 1L that she had been talking to, and she was talking to the 1L about the debt, and like, wow, okay, so you're going to graduate from here with, $180,000 or whatever of debt. And the 1L just looked her right in the face and was just like, oh, they're not getting that money back. But that's her plan. That's just, I'm not going to repay this money.
Okay.
I mean, I would love to just, let's 10 years from now, let's see how that plan's working out. Because it's possible that you haven't paid them any of that money, but it's also possible that your credit is completely ruined.
That's what credit scores are for. We can't force you to pay, but we'll make it very difficult to have what you want.
Yeah, and possibly they can start. Well, they can come after her, right, for the money. So it's like, so she'll have to just have nothing, basically. Like she won't ever be able to accumulate assets, and she won't have any credit. So you can't own anything, and you can't borrow it for anything, and you just are going to be. But that's your plan, as like that's how you're starting law school. Jesus.
Yeah, that's weird. You're going into it. You can get out of it now. Get out of it. Gosh.
Get out now. Yes. If that's your plan, the correct answer is withdraw from law school.
Huh.
Oh boy. Okay. This is the end of Junani. Okay. Thanks, Junani, for writing in. Please don't get ripped off. Please don't pay for law school. Please don't pay for your LLM. Just don't do it. Insist on getting a scholarship or don't go. Oh boy, do we have time for this there's a giant can of worms that we're about to open?
It's going to invite so many
have time for this
tangents.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay, but we need to do it.
I think so. I think it'll be good.
But we'll do it next episode. Okay, next episode. Here comes a teaser. You guys have been asking for it. We are going to talk about why we think it's a stupid idea to read the question stem first. We got an email. It's a very thoughtful, long email from an independent LSAT teacher in New Orleans. And it's point by point with bold and bullets and numbers and everything. And we are more than happy to go through that and address it point by point and talk to you about why we really don't think you should read the question stem first on logical reasoning, despite what you've heard from Kaplan and all your other LSAT prep classes, probably. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up there.
Sounds good.
Okay, sounds good. Ben, thank you for rescheduling, by the way. I hope you're not offended that I rescheduled so that I could play golf.
No, I'm not offended. I don't care, actually.
Okay, cool. Well,
just next time, you better watch out.
No.
I'll be like, I had to reschedule so I could, I don't know, take a nap.
You could reschedule anytime you want, buddy. That is perfectly fine. Our schedule, we've been cranking along with the every Tuesday. So if you want to know when the show's coming out, right now the show is coming out every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific time.
Can I ask you about
on Tuesdays?
That?
Sure. How did I arbitrarily pick that time?
Why do you say that time? Because I always get the email at 3 p.m.
The email goes out an hour later.
Got it.
But it's on iTunes. It's on the website. It's on RSS an hour before that.
Cool. All right.
So that's if you want to be like a super
Since it was always right at 3, I was like, does he think that it's 2 p.m. Eastern time and doesn't know that?
No.
Because obviously you know time.
I just put it. I just put it in the RSS feed and on the website an hour early, so that and iTunes and everything, so that if the gunners want to get the information in advance, they're able to.
Okay.
You can have the information a full hour before anyone else. But no, if you want that, we should give that subscribe. What is it again?
It's too long, to be honest.
If you want the news, it's a bad URL.
That's my fault.
We're sorry. It's Ben's fault, and it is, where is it? thinkinglsat.com/blog/subscribe if you would like to subscribe to the show. Ben has to change that.
What should it
be?
be?
But for now, it's thinkinglsat.com/blog/subscribe. thinkinglsat.com/subscribe.
Is there even a shorter word than subscribe? Just newsletter? That's not much shorter.
That's longer.
But it's easier. How about... I can't think of anything. What's a really short word that would be good? Please tell us, and we will consider using it.
We'll have a contest for the best subscribe page URL. Okay. All right. Enough of our bullshit. Thanks for listening. Please tell a friend. Please rate and review us on iTunes. It makes a really big difference. Anything you want to add to that, Ben? All right, great. Catch you next time.